Alright, so I want to do a quick updated settings guide, especially for custom crosshairs, because I know that's what a lot of people are curious about and probably here for. So we're going to jump onto custom crosshairs straight away. I don't want to waste your time at all. So to start off with, you're going to go to your settings, and then you're going to go to game, and then scroll down to the HUD tab, and you're going to first off set always show reticle to off. Once that is off, you can close the game. I've got to leave my game open as an example, because I don't need to close it, because I've already applied the setting. But we're simply going to press the R and Windows key at the same time, or R then Windows key, to bring up the run command. And then you're going to type %8data% to go to your 8data folder, like so. And then you're going to go to the AGS folder, New World, Save Data, User Settings. In this config, you're going to scroll all the way to the bottom until you find something called reticle target color and reticle color. Both of these settings you want to set to 0 on all 4 values, and make sure there is 7 decimal places, so don't accidentally delete one or add one. Just make sure there's 7 decimal places and the first value is also 0 in all 4 rows here. Same goes for the reticle target color below, that should also be 0. If you're familiar, this is RGBA, this is the alpha value. In theory, you would only need to set this one to 0, but we know how AGS's coding works, and we want to make sure that it is all good. So once we have done that, we are going to save, that is very important, and then we're going to open the next user settings below, which will have the same settings at the bottom. So we scroll to the bottom, and you'll see reticle color and reticle target color again, and we're going to do the same thing and set both of those to zeros as well. Once we've done that, we'll also save out of that one, and then we'll open up our game, and you should now have no crosshair. Your game will effectively look like this. We'll have absolutely no crosshair and no way to aim. So, how do we get a custom crosshair that we can aim with now? We're going to boot up Steam, and we're going to search up something called Crosshair X. I don't have it installed, I'll talk about that later, but store page, Crosshair X is a universal app that allows you to customize your crosshairs as an overlay. It doesn't interfere with the game's code or anything like that. It's fully within the terms of service. I confirmed this over 2 years ago now on the New World forums when they existed. And you can simply install this, customize your crosshair as you please. And yeah, you can make some really nice designs, and then you can even share them with your friends and so forth. If you want my crosshair, I'll put it in the description as a crosshair code. And to that, it is again a few dollars. It's a $10 application, but if you don't have the money for it, you can also get a free version by the same publisher. Simply go down to publisher here, and it is called Crosshair V2. Now, Crosshair V2 is limited. It only has like 7 presets, I believe. But again, that is also an option if you don't want to pay for Crosshair X itself. Now, I quickly also want to cover some other important settings inside of New World as well that are going to change the way you play and effectively give you a massive uplift in just in general how the game performs and how the game plays. So first off, we're going to go back to the game tab, and we're going to look for a setting called freeform movement keyboard and mouse. This is off by default when you first play the game, and it is effectively going to cause backpedaling when you press your S and W and AD keys. Sorry, AD and S, it is going to backpedal you. This doesn't feel good after experiencing the setting that I'm about to show you. So we're going to go back into game, into settings, and then we're going to turn that freeform camera movement on. And now when you press S, you're simply just going to run that way. In most games nowadays, this is what we call omnidirectional movement, and gives you a more fluid and controlling control of your character, and makes the game feel, I'm not even kidding, game-changing. So if you've been playing with this setting off, I highly recommend trying it, and I genuinely think you will have a much more enjoyable experience, as it gives you an almost analog-like experience on keyboard and mouse with W, A, S, and D. Some other settings I would highly recommend checking out are things like the tilt-based camera zoom, which is going to give you even more FOV than you can actually get. So, for example, if I have this off and I zoom out, this is the maximum FOV. But if I go back into the settings and turn this on, where is it? Up here. This now becomes the max FOV. it's almost maybe 30% more, and you can almost have a mobile-like vision over like the battlefield if you're in a war and outpost rush, which can be very useful for things like tanking, melee, and healers especially, having that wider peripheral view to use to your advantage. Some other settings that I would highly recommend turning on that are off by default after the update is the vitals, or the camera or HUD vitals. So this is off by default and means you can't see your exact stamina bar. So now it just shows these segments here, which is very bad, as you could imagine if you're using something like Hardy. You're not getting an accurate number on what your stamina is. So I highly recommend going into your game and then going down to that vitals value and turning it on, and now we actually have a number for our stamina so we know what it exactly is, which I think is very, very important. Some other settings that are pretty self-explanatory are turning things like camera shake off. Self-correcting follow camera, I would recommend also having that off. Same with a vertical camera movement smoothing, is the amount of like smoothing you have on your vertical camera. It's effectively mouse acceleration. I would also turn that off. I believe that is also on by default. Some other things in here you might want to try, and that is things like mount dash on tap. Can be more comfortable, especially when your mount is intended to alleviate some of the buttons pressed. And then scrolling down, you can now also turn off a bunch of the achievement notifications, which is pretty helpful as well. So I have perfect salvage and housing off, because those notifications can get very annoying. On with that, there's pretty much most of the game settings. Jumping into display, I play on all low for the competitive advantage. DSR or DRS or dynamic resolution scaling and VSync should both be off. Obviously, maybe if using G-Sync, I don't think that applies into this game. For things like DirectX 12 and DirectX 11, which I do want to quickly mention, is DirectX 11 for me is more stable, to the point where DirectX 12 I can't even get past loading screens. I have, however, heard that DirectX 12 gives a massive boost in performance, upwards of 50 to 40 more FPS. So if you can run DirectX 12, I would recommend trying it. Just keep in mind it's not near as stable, and you will get a more, again, fluid experience on DirectX 11, where it has been tested and played on for the past few years now. So that is pretty much all I want to cover for this video, primarily focusing on the custom crosshairs, of course. And if you have any further questions, please drop them in the comments, and I am more than happy to help. And yeah, I'll see you guys in the next video. Peace.